My brother showed up at my door begging for help. I caught him stealing from me and learned he was an addict. Now he's in rehab and our family is falling apart. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I'm at a loss and could use some outside perspective. I'm Ellie, 28F, and I've always prided myself on being the responsible one in my family. Growing up, I was the straight A student, the one who never caused trouble, and the daughter my parents could always count on. But now, I'm questioning everything I thought I knew about my role in our family. My younger brother, Jack, 17M, came into our lives when I was 11. I remember the day my parents sat me down to tell me I was going to be a big sister. They were so excited, but I felt conflicted. I was used to being an only child, and suddenly, I was going to have to share my parents' attention. Looking back, I think that moment set the tone for my relationship with Jack. Our parents, Tom, 65M, and Diana, 63F, had Jack later in life. They were already in their late 40s when he was born, and I think they saw him as their second chance at parenting. They'd always been strict with me, pushing me to excel in everything I did. But with Jack, they were more relaxed, more indulgent. As Jack grew up, I was busy with my own life. I threw myself into my studies, determined to get into a good college and make something of myself. I babysat Jack occasionally, but we never really bonded. He was just this kid who lived in my house, always wanting to play when I was trying to study or hang out with my friends. I left for college when Jack was 6, and after that, our interactions became even more limited. I'd come home for holidays and see him for a few days, but we never really talked about anything meaningful. I was too focused on my own life, my classes, my internships, and later, my career. After college, I landed a job at a marketing firm in the city, about an hour away from my hometown. I threw myself into work, climbing the corporate ladder and building a life for myself. I'd visit home every few months, but those visits were mostly spent catching up with my parents. Jack was always around, but he was usually glued to his phone or video games. I heard bits and pieces about Jack's life from our parents. They mentioned he was struggling in school, that he had trouble making friends. I remember feeling a twinge of concern, but I always pushed it aside. I told myself it wasn't my responsibility to fix Jack's problems. He had our parents for that. Last month, everything changed. It was a Tuesday night, and I had just gotten home from a long day at work. I was looking forward to a quiet evening with a glass of wine and my favorite TV show when I heard frantic knocking at my door. To my surprise, it was Jack, looking disheveled and panicked. I let him in, and he immediately started rambling about needing a place to stay. He was sweating, his eyes darting around nervously. I asked him what was going on, and he spun a tale about some guys from school harassing him. He claimed they'd been following him and that he was scared to go home. At first, I felt sympathetic. I offered him my guest room and told him he could stay for a few days. I even called our parents to let them know Jack was with me, saying he needed some space. They seemed worried but grateful that he was safe. The next day, I took off work to spend time with Jack and try to understand the situation better. We talked, and he opened up about feeling overwhelmed at school and struggling to fit in. He told me about the pressure he felt to live up to the family name, to be as successful as his big sister. I felt a pang of guilt hearing this. Had my success somehow contributed to Jack's struggles? But things took a turn on the third day. I came home early from work and found Jack rummaging through my bedroom. He was going through my dresser drawers, and when I confronted him, I saw cash in his hands, money I had been saving for a trip to Europe I'd been planning for years. I was furious. I demanded an explanation, and that's when the truth came out. There were no bullies. Jack had been using drugs for months, and he'd run out of money to buy more. He came to me hoping to steal enough cash to get his next fix. I was shocked and disappointed. I told Jack he needed to leave immediately and that I was going to tell our parents everything. He begged me not to, promising he'd quit on his own, but I knew it was beyond that point. I drove Jack home that night and sat down with our parents. I told them everything Jack had confessed to me. They were devastated, but grateful I had brought it to their attention. They immediately started making plans to get Jack into a rehabilitation program. Now, I'm torn. Part of me feels like I did the right thing by telling our parents and getting Jack the help he needs. But another part of me wonders if I should have tried to help him myself first. Maybe if I had been a better sister over the years, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. I can't help but think about all the times I brushed off family gatherings or didn't return Jack's occasional texts. Was I too focused on my own life? Should I have paid more attention to the signs that something was wrong? I remember a specific incident from last Thanksgiving. Jack had tried to talk to me about some trouble he was having at school. I was distracted, checking work emails on my phone, and I brushed him off, telling him to just study harder. Now I wonder, was that a cry for help that I ignored? Our parents are dealing with this as best they can, but I can see the strain it's putting on them. They're in their 60s now, and this isn't how they imagine spending their retirement years. Dad's health hasn't been great lately. He had a minor heart attack last year, and I'm worried about how this stress might affect him. Mom called me yesterday, crying. She blames herself for not noticing something was wrong sooner. She talked about how she and Dad had always been so proud of me, always bragging about my accomplishments to their friends. She wonders if they inadvertently made Jack feel like he could never measure up. Jack is now in a 30-day inpatient program. Our parents call me with updates, but I haven't visited him yet. I'm not sure if he wants to see me after I exposed his secret. Part of me is angry at him for lying and trying to steal from me, but another part feels sorry for him and the struggles he must have been going through. I'm also worried about the long-term consequences of this. Will Jack be able to finish high school? How will this affect his future college and job prospects? I know addiction is a disease, but I can't help feeling frustrated that he chose to start using drugs in the first place. This whole situation has made me realize how little I know about my brother's life. I don't know his friends, his hobbies, or even his favorite subjects in school. I've been so wrapped up in my own world that I've completely neglected my role as a big sister. I'm trying to be more supportive now, offering to help our parents however I can. But I can't shake the feeling that it's too little, too late. Should I have done more? Was I right to tell our parents immediately, or should I have tried to handle it on my own first? I guess what I'm really asking is, am I a bad sister for not being more involved in Jack's life earlier? And did I make the right choice in how I handled this situation? I'm struggling with guilt and uncertainty, and I could really use some outside perspective on this whole mess. Update 1, it's been about 2 months since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone who took the time to respond and offer advice. Your words really helped me gain perspective on the situation. After much consideration, I decided to take a more active role in Jack's recovery process. When he completed his 30-day inpatient program, I was there with our parents to pick him up. The reunion was tense at first. Jack wouldn't meet my eyes, and I could tell he was still angry about me telling our parents. But as we drove home, the ice slowly began to thaw. Over dinner that night, Jack finally opened up about what led him to drugs. It turns out he's been dealing with severe anxiety and depression for years, but he never told anyone. He started using to self-medicate and escape from the pressure he felt to live up to the family's expectations. Hearing this broke my heart. I realized how little I truly knew about my brother's struggles. Jack told us about a particularly tough time during his freshman year of high school. He had tried out for the basketball team, hoping to follow in our dad's footsteps. Dad had been a star player in his day. Jack didn't make the cut, and he felt like he had let everyone down. That was when a classmate first offered him pills to take the edge off. Jack said he initially refused, but after weeks of feeling like a failure, he gave in. In an effort to make amends and be more present, I've been visiting our parents' house every weekend.